Welcome to The Business Fighter with Henry Penix. Henry has been the CEO, founder, and consultant to hundreds of companies worldwide. He retired a multimillionaire, financially independent at the age of 35. Henry grew up a preacher's son and was thrown in jail 3 times for various altercations. He knows what it means to come from nothing and have to fight his way to the top. Henry is the business fighter who will teach you strategic skills for winning in business and in life. Don't just spectate, participate. It's time to get in the ring.
Hey guys, Henry Penix, the business fighter, here with another podcast. I've met a new friend, Ryan Wegenast. He just moved back from the UK. His wife's 9 months pregnant. They're getting their life kind of reestablished over this COVID thing. And I've only spoken with him for probably 5 minutes, but he almost feels like a brother from another mother. He's got this cool vibe about him. You're going to love. He coaches clients, I would assume, all over the world. He's doing a lot of one-on-one coachings, and he really specializes in retreats. So we're going to kind of get into the story. I purposely don't look a lot into my interviewee's background because I want it to be spontaneous. So who knows what's going to come out of this, but I know you're going to love it. Ryan, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Henry. Man, thanks. I appreciate you for sharing your space with me.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, love it. Love it. So you guys back from the UK and kind of settled in the Nashville area for now.
Yeah. It was wild. We were up in Manchester. I've had this desire to kind of just test out the United Kingdom when it comes to kind of the space we're into. And I had so many people tell me, oh, they're not going to be into it. And I'll tell you, I just started doing spontaneous workshops, and they were filling up left and right. And people are just hungry there, especially in the business world. I think they feel they just want to know if you're authentic. They don't really care what you do. They're just like the British will always test you. So yes. Yeah. And then COVID hit, and not forced, but definitely like it felt like the best hand was to come back to Nashville and sort out some properties, and obviously have the third baby. So we're back.
Well, congratulations. Yeah. And your wife is due any day, you said.
Yeah. So probably the next 4 weeks, I'd imagine, maybe a little bit longer. We'll see. She'd love it to come early. So the smaller, the better on her end. So
yeah, I hear you. Well, you indicated to me earlier that you really do a lot of retreats and a lot of one-on-one coaching. As you know, my audience is full of entrepreneurs and business people and all of that. So can you kind of tell me what got you started in the field? What makes you an expert in this field? And I know a lot of different coaches, different people who do the type of coaching that I think you do. They really have to read people well and read them quick, read situations well and quick. So what got you into that? And then I want to know exactly what it is you do, and drop some golden nuggets for some of my audience.
Cool. Let's get into it. So starting, I think anybody, like I'm sure yourself and a lot of your audience, it's the entrepreneur journey. It's like constantly unraveling, right? So I think as a young kid, I felt something inside of me that I was meant to give to the world. And I didn't know what it was. And life kind of took me as it did, right? Through my 20s, I was a classic A personality, high achiever, went into the military, into special forces, and got an MBA and raced Ironman triathlons. And I chased everything I could find to feel good. Right. I got to my late 20s and none of it started to feel great anymore. And so actually it was early on, we were married, and I remember pointing the finger at my wife when we got in a fight. We're gonna get real personal quick.
Yeah,
and I remember blaming her, like pointing a finger and blaming her. And I remember looking at my hand and seeing like the 3 fingers pointed back at me. And I walked out the front door, and I literally fell on my knees, and I heard this whisper, Ryan, all the blame is just the pain. And I realized in that moment that I wasn't connected to my heart at all. I'd been achieving my whole life to get people to see me and to validate me. And it was really in that moment where I decided to shift from kind of the entrepreneurial space. I was doing what I do on the side. I wasn't getting paid for it. I was figuring it out. And this was, probably 2008, 2009. And I decided to start to explore what would it look like to help other people end suffering. And so for me, I just naturally gravitated towards entrepreneurial men, creative CEOs that were females, people that felt like there was this thing inside them that just wouldn't move, in order to help them kind of move from success to significance. So for me, a lot of the stuff I do in my journey from getting started was wholeness in your heart, filling that void, helping you tap into that wisdom that you already have inside of you, and then creating meaningful wealth. So I work with a lot of people that have wealth, but what's meaningful wealth? Is it worth sacrificing 2 or 3, 4 marriages, right? So it's really about this, the brand's called Fully Awake. So it's really about living a fully awake lifestyle where everything is kind of moving downstream for you versus fighting upstream. So I've just kind of carved that out for myself. It's been a personal journey. I didn't create my programs for you or anybody else. I created it for me, and then decided that like it was working. So I decided to scale it. So that's kind of been the process so far. And there's been a lot of starting points. So
Yeah.
we can dissect a handful of starting and unstarting and failure and whatever, right? So
Well, if somebody's coaching me or talking to me about anything, if they don't have any failures in their life, I usually won't listen to them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because one, lying, and two, they don't have the experience or the resilience or that pit bull mentality to bite down and hang on until they can get through something. So I love the phrase you said, fully awake. And due to time constraints, I want to dig right into this. Fully awake. What are the clues that, and did I hear you right? You deal mainly with men, or do you deal with CEO men and women?
It's kind of like two points, men and women. I gravitate a lot of achievers that are looking to create their businesses, probably more heart-centered, heart-based. I think they've been grinding for a while. And then also the other kind of tier to that is guys who've kind of like on the other side of success. So guys who have exited a business, a handful of like NFL athletes who have had incredible success, but they don't know how to be significant in the world. It's a funny conversation. You think that they would know because of all the mindset training they've had or whatever, but they haven't dove into the place in the middle of their chest, their heart yet, and connected that to what they're going to create next in their life. So that's kind of the male side. And the female side, man, I love the female side. The creative CEOs, they just want to have fun. They just want to create something really beautiful. And so I can relate to really both. So yeah, it's probably about a 60-40 split right now.
They come more from the heart.
Yeah, they do.
The guy does, I think, kind of a breath of fresh air. So it's good to have a balance. So let's go with the guys just for a second. So what are some of your clues that a male CEO that's had significance or whatever may not be awake? Like is it the look in their eye? Is it their language? Is it what they're doing? Is it how they project themselves? Is it, talking about wealth that really doesn't mean a whole lot? I heard a quote the other day that said that true wealth is things that you can't buy.
Yeah.
So what do you look for? What are some clues that someone's not fully awake?
I look for kind of 4 things. I look for one, obviously, like if I'm face to face with somebody, it's pretty easy to kind of tell what part of their life or their being isn't really fully awake. And the idea of being fully awake is really, it's what your core desire as a man is. You just want freedom from some of this. It's like an itch you can't itch on the inside, right? You don't know what to do about it. You don't know how to get there. You're smart enough. You have enough knowledge. You've listened to enough podcasts. But there's just it feels like there's this gap, right? And so I just look for the gap inside the relationships you have. Typically for men, it's their relationships, their wives. They're a clear mirror of where you might be sleeping or you aren't fully awake. I think downriver is just the money stuff, right? Maybe you have to reframe the relationship with your money, but I look for that. I look for the relationship. I look for where you hold majority of the tension or stress in your body. Let's say your throat, your chest, your back. I look where you're suppressing that emotion. And it's typically really quick, get really honest answers. Don't try to beat around the bush. And so, yeah, it's really just a quick inquiry about, hey man, where do you actually feel like you're forcing a lot of life versus it actually happening for you? Because I get it, man. I'm a high achiever. You want to achieve, you want to go, but actually getting men into a state where they don't have to have a goal, where actually everything's being kind of delivered to them the way they want it in a sense, I think is an interesting play right now in kind of our very achiever based, even like in the personal growth space, right? We're so eager to evolve. I think that eagerness typically can be actually running from your true essence. So I'm obsessed with finding that place inside men because I think it's a ripple effect that can happen inside their families, inside their communities, inside of their businesses, is unmatched when you tap into that.
Yeah.
No,
that's awesome. So to take it to the next step, if you notice some of those things in a male, what sort of I don't know if it's a program, I don't know, and I'm not here to dissect the whole I'm sure it is. I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot to give, but if you could sum it up and drop a few golden nuggets on my audience right now, what would be maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you would say, maybe look at doing this way, look at that way, look at this perspective, that perspective. These are some good habits you could get into. What would you say if you could give me maybe like the top three?
Yeah. So if I give your audience a big deep breath, it would be, the first thing would be, you can't make a mistake. The tension in charge around mistakes is unbelievable. I felt that in my own life, right? And it's been classic in pretty much everybody I've stood face to face with, from one-on-one to crowds of 10,000, right? Like there's this nervousness, and it's not anything to do with your personality. I think it's just the nature of human beings. Like, is this right? Like, is this the right next step? Can I make a mistake? Like, it's not something you can go to therapy for. It's something you need to learn about yourself and how to navigate that, right? So you can't make a mistake. Like, just like take the backpack off, take the pressure off of knowing, like,
I
oh,
love that.
put your hand on your heart, take a big deep breath and go, Henry, you can't make a mistake. All right, cool. Next, majority of men will go around the issue, not through the issue. And so, especially in the finance space, I work with a lot of investors. I've got a retreat coming up here in Denver. A lot of hedge fund guys where most of their lives, they just learn to bypass how they really feel in order to get to where they need to go. So if you actually want to get to where you need to go, you need to learn to move through what's actually happening. That means learning how to sit inside your emotions, how to actually use that as a trailhead to where you want to go, not an obstacle you need to avoid. So when a man does that, dude, the family wakes up, the relationship wakes up. I mean, guys are ditching escorts on the road and they're picking up the phone call to their wives again. When you stop to go, okay, you know what? That's an addiction I have. I don't have to avoid it. I can go through it. So it's actually like very like raw work, right? Around like just what's actually happening. Don't give me like the bullshit that you're kind of facading, like what's really happening. And that one thing is the thing that's stopping you from feeling fully awake in your heart, your mind, your body, your relationships. So yeah, man. And the clarity.
Love that. A lot of times of performance-based mentality, I think, comes a lot from your environment and maybe how you grew up. Like if you had a mom or a dad that, busted your butt every time you had a little mistake, or you in the military, you said you were part of special forces. Like if you screwed up, you probably got yelled at a couple times, and we can hold that in our own lives and say, oh my God, now is that guy going to yell at me like he did or whatever? And so and it's tough to unwind some of that, I think.
Yeah, it is. I'm glad you brought that up. It's called the controller protector. You learned it between the ages of 0 and 7, and it's in your subconscious. Yeah. So especially as a boy, the controller protector comes when you're kind of taught not to put your full self out into the world, right? So you develop these mechanisms to control, protect the image. In your 20s, you're busy achieving. In your 30s, you're chasing the money. And so you get to that 41 range, right? And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like I've had the same thought for 10 years, and so it's like, I can see the timeline. It happens every single time and you can't escape it no matter who you are. Like it just is. So I think what you're talking about is that controller protector, and you can fight it. And you can resist it, or you can allow it to be like your greatest source of leverage. Because I think you mentioned about leverage. Man, if you want leverage, find that controller protector, learn how to transform it. On the other side of it is that epiphany, that freedom, that clarity, that emotional stability. You don't have to spiral anymore. It's possible.
Dude, I love that. That is so powerful. I've talked to a lot of people as well, all over the world, and what you have just said. Guys, if you haven't listened to another thing, rewind this part 10 times and then send it to 10 of your best friends or 10 of your enemies. because this will definitely turn your life around. Dude, that's powerful. I love that. While I'm interrupting you here, tell people how they can get a hold of you, because I don't want to forget. I'll ask you again at the end of this podcast, but tell people how they can see some of your stuff and get a hold of you. I don't want to forget this.
Yeah, fine. So the quickest way is just, I love a good email, ryan@ryanwegenast.com. Just throw in there the subject line, Henry, how do you pronounce that? Like Pentix? Is it Penix? Penix. Awesome. That's a really quick way. I've got tons of funnels and landing pages you can go get on, but if you're into the personal space, if you're into the one-on-one, if you're into the retreat, we do them in San Diego, actually, right in Encinitas. We've got one at a dude ranch coming up in Colorado. I know it's COVID-esque, so it's been interesting kind of navigating that, but a lot of guys are still wanting to get outside and have that IRL experience. So yeah, that's a really fast way. I've got a small team that just quickly kind of gets that to me. So yeah, super easy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So that was one way. And again, we could have stopped right there, but the last few minutes, give me another golden nugget that that you look for when you see somebody who's not fully awake, not fully living their own, the right life or the life that's best for them? The people who are fighting, trying to go upstream and aren't just going with the flow. Tell me something else, some other piece of advice you would give someone like that.
So I love the idea of looking at your life and going, okay, I have a bucket of desire, and then looking at where at in your life those desires actually aren't happening. Are you making them happening, or are they happening for you? So every time I hear somebody talk about, hey, I have this desire, I'm not experiencing that yet, the first thing I do is I know exactly that their belief in something isn't matching that desire. So that's the only reason you feel lag in your life. It's the only reason you feel lag in your business. It's the only reason you feel lag in your relationships, because the belief about what it could be doesn't match your desires. So you're going to keep shooting out this ideas of that you want inside your business, inside your executive team, inside your marriage, and you're going to keep doing it. And you're going to fire off all these desires, and it's going to feel like you're suffering because the space between the desire and your belief continues to get further away from each other. That creates this band of resistance in the middle of your heart. And so what we're doing is we're actually aligning those two things. And then you just take your skills. You don't need more skills, like especially business dudes. Like you don't need more skills. Like you've got enough. Like you literally have enough, especially in 2020. I love when people say, I don't know what to do next. Like Google it, dude. Like I've been,
You're 5 seconds away from it.
yeah, it's easy, dude. So, but that's it. Like it's in that space that you're feeling. So for me, that's what I look for. Look for the places where you've got these big desires where it's not happening, and then just check really quick if you actually believe that's what you really want. And then you'll have that contrast will create awesome clarity for you. And it just creates an ease and an effortlessness and true abundance, meaningful wealth, which the purpose of the meaningful wealth in my brand is to help other people end suffering, right? So if you create more meaningful wealth, then guess what? You get to expand your presence, your platform, your business, and that helps somebody else break through, and then so on and so on. So the chaos we feel in the world right now is just all the personal suffering. That's it. We're fooling ourselves if we don't believe that. So anyways, I think at a fundamental level, for a lot of us, our production, our output is simply just coming through our businesses, our entrepreneur ventures. And for me, I had a mentor tell me one time, Ryan, if you're making less than 30K a month, it's a belief in self issue. And I sat for 7 days and was like, no, it's gotta be something else.
Yeah.
Nope.
Wow, dude. Yep. I love that. I love that chasm. I saw that chasm in my mind between your desire and your belief. So if a guy, just wrapping this segment up, if somebody has that desire, and everybody's writing out their goals, and we've been taught that we were an embryo, and you're not getting there, and you're feeling further apart, do you drop the desire or do you increase the belief? And if you increase the belief, how do you do that?
Yeah, you do both. You drop the expectation around the desire, because I'm guessing there's going to be something better than what you can muster up in your head. And then you increase your belief, and you increase your belief not by producing more in the world around you. You can increase it by spending some time. You spend it by spending time with yourself and seeing the things around you as a mirror. I use my wife as a mirror. When I'm tuned in and I'm dialed in, my relationship with my wife is awesome. When I'm not tuned in and dialed in, my relationship with her is rocky. And so I actually use that as a gauge, being like, oh, okay, Ryan, like you're hardening the edges around your life, your business, you're not softening it. That becomes a reflection in my relationship with my wife. So for me, I don't get too complicated with this stuff, man. It's like, let's get super simple. Let's find 1 or 2 things in your life that's actually a mirror that's happening to you. Use it as a gauge, trust it, try something out for 7 days, like softening the edges with that person, taking more time off than you normally would,
right? To
kind of just invest in, finding what makes your heart tick. And then I think you'll be pretty shocked at how things quicken up in your life. So I love the quickening. I think men want a quickening. We see that as achieving, but there's a quickening that you desire. I get it. There's a really good way to get there and a really hard way to get there. So for me, it's just learning how to let go of the expectation around the desire, and then also increase the belief through just being honest with what's actually being reflected to you in your reality around you, whether that's your business, your bank account, your wife. Like you could pick 2 or 3 things and just see really clearly where your belief is.
See where the conflict is, and then the conflict, therein lies the mirror, and you take a good hard look. Don't run from it though. I mean, how many guys do you know that see that conflict in their spouse and they still think it's their spouse's problem? It's really part of themselves they see in that person they don't like.
That's right.
Instead of softening the edges and making it a better world for both, they run the other direction. And that's tough, because you'll be running. That's why some people are on their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th marriages, because they don't get just that figured out.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a whole other podcast. You understand this?
Yeah, I know it is, dude.
Man, and that's why people should go to your retreat, because
Yeah.
I'm sure you unwind all this and unpack it. But
Yeah.
dude, this has been amazing. I love that. I love what you stand for. I love your heart. At the very beginning of the segment, I said this guy's got kind of a cool vibe, and that's what I was feeling, man. You're open, you're honest, you're real, and people should see more of you.
This is awesome. I'd love to connect further, and let's see what we can do to help people change the world in 20, man. Let's go.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Any last minute thoughts or last thing you need to tell the audience, or another way they could, if you want to throw in there where they could connect with you again, or anything else you have lined up? We've got a couple minutes left.
Cool. Yeah. No, I think I just want to encourage the listeners, man. You're not alone. Everybody else is hiding. Like in business, especially if you're an entrepreneur and you're building, I get it. But you're not. And so I think just giving yourself that moment to believe that you're not alone, everybody else is hiding, to know that you're just one moment away, in a sense. I really believe that you're one experience away. It's not as big as a chasm as your mind has convinced you it is. And that's not just in the negative stuff. That's also in the positive stuff. I have this saying called this too shall pass. And I think it's in various spiritual texts, but most people connect it to the negative aspect of life. Like, oh, this hardship will pass. For me, it's every context. Like, this money will pass. This joy will pass. Like, this business venture will pass. Like, guess what? Like, this too will pass. So fully awake is about understanding that every moment is a moment of creation, and you have the power to create in that moment, every moment. And so for me, that keeps me really centered, keeps me really grounded. It keeps me feeling and thinking and believing for something beyond what I can create, because I know what I can create, and it's kind of small. But when I connect that with something a little bit bigger than myself, then lights out. It's fun. So yeah, man, this too shall pass, including this podcast. So
what a great ending. I've never had anybody put it that way. But looking at my clock, we've got like 45 minutes.
Henry's like, get out of here, man.
No, well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. You guys, you need to hear more.
Yeah.
He's real. He's raw. He's got truth inside of him, and I know it will help you guys. Ryan, if there's ever anything you need on this end, feel free to connect with me as well. I'm on all the social media platforms and all that, or shoot me an email, henry.penix@gmail.com. Let's start there. Love it. But anyway, great meeting you. And I know,
too, dude.
I know we'll talk further.
We'll talk soon, brother. All right. We'll see you. All right. Bye-bye.